They have turned the office against you until one secret exposed everything. You have worked in the company for a while now. You weren't the loudest person in the office, but dis but you were dependable. You met deadlines, you stayed late when project needed extra attention. You help new employees settle in without expecting anything in return. You believe that if you treated people with respect, they would do the same. Then everything changed. It started so quietly that you almost ignored it. On a bright morning, you walked into the office expecting usual greetings, but the room felt strangely silent. People who normally smile at you suddenly looked away. Conversation stopped as soon as you entered the back room. People who normally greeted you, co-workers who usually shared lunch with you, claimed to be too busy. Another walked away. Another went without saying a word. At first, you thought everyone was just having a stressful week, but the silence didn't go away. Instead, it grew louder. Within days, you will notice important emails arriving late, leaving you unprepared for meetings. A project you had spent weeks completing was presented by someone else, and no one questioned it. When mistakes appeared in reports, your manager looked in your direction before anyone had even checked who was responsible. You tried to defend yourself, but it felt like nobody was listening. One afternoon, your manager called you into his office. There have been concerns about your behavior, he said carefully. Several employees have complained that you have become difficult to work with. You stared at him in disbelief. Difficult? I've never argued with anyone. He sighed. I hope this is just a misunderstanding, but I need you to improve your relationship with the team. You left the office with your heart raising. Someone was saying things about you that simply weren't true. As the weeks passed, the situation became unbearable. People stopped inviting you to meetings unless it was absolutely necessary. Even simple questions were answered with cold, no word replies. You went home every evening wondering what you had done wrong. One person seemed to care. A colleague often stopped by your desk with words of encouragement. I don't know why everyone is treating you like this. She would say, just stay strong. The truth always comes out. Her kindness gave you hope. She seems to be the only person who still believes in you. What you didn't know was that she was the reason everyone had turned against you. Every evening she stayed late to finish a report. As you walked past the conference room, you heard voices inside. The door wasn't completely closed. I told them exactly what I wanted them to believe. A familiar voice laughed. You froze. It was the same colleague who had been comforting you every day. Another coworker asked, what if they find out? She laughed again. They won't. People believe gossip much faster than facts. Your heart sank. Before you could hear more, someone walked into the hallway, forcing you to leave before you were seen. You wanted to confront her immediately, but you knew nobody would believe your word against hers. You needed proof. From that day forward, you paid attention to everything. You saved every email. You kept notes after meetings and recorded the dates whenever strange things happened. A week later, the opportunity finally arrived during a company presentation. Your colleague connected her laptop to the project. As she searched for her presentation, a file unexpectedly opened on the screen. A few seconds, nobody moved. The folder contained dozens of files with names that immediately caught everyone's attention. Private chats, edited messages, complaints. Before she could close the folder, no document open. Before she could close the folder, one document opened mistakenly. The room fell silent. Everyone watched as a conversation appeared on the screen. It showed short screenshots of messages she had edited before forwarding them to other employees. She had removed sentences, changed order of replies, and even written fake messages to make innocent conversations sound insulting. Someone whispered, "That's impossible." But it was. The evidence was right there. Another file reviewed fake complaints she had written using anonymous account. Another contained voice recordings she had secretly edited to remove important context. Every rumor that had spread through the office had started with her. She had manipulated everyone. Nobody, not because you had done anything wrong, but because she wanted your position. She believed that if your reputation was destroyed, management would eventually promote her instead. Your management immediately ended the meeting and called the company's home resource department. An investigation began that same afternoon. A company's team recovered deleted emails and confirmed that the evidence was genuine. They discovered months of lies, edited messages, and carefully planned rumors designed to isolate you from the rest of the team. When the truth finally came out, the office changed overnight. Co-workers who had ignored you stood by your desk, ashamed of how they had treated you. One admitted, "I believed everything because she sounded so convincing." Another quietly said, "I should have asked you instead of listening to gossip." Even your manager apologized. I judged you before knowing the fact. I'm sorry." You accepted the apology, but you couldn't forget how quietly people had turned their back on you without asking a single question. The colleague who had caused all the drama was dismissed after the investigation was confirmed her actions. She left the building carrying the same box of belongings she had once mocked others for carrying. As you watched her leave through the office window, you didn't feel victorious, you felt relief because the truth had finally done what you couldn't. It had spoken for you. From that day on, the office became a different place. People stopped believing every rumor they hear. They asked questions before making judgment. New policies were introduced to prevent accusation without evidence. You also learned something that stayed with you forever. Not every person who smiles at you is your friend. Not every person who stands along deserves to be blamed. Sometimes the loudest lies can fool an entire room, but eventually one hidden truth is enough to silence them all.